Good afternoon, one and all. I welcome you all to Ganesh IAS Academy. In today's session, we'll be seeing science and technology based current affairs from the date January 2nd to January 8th, 2024. Let us get into the news articles one by one. The first news that we are going to discuss is about radiocarbon dating. Okay, so what is this radiocarbon technology? What is it used for? And how is this radiocarbon dating done? All these details we'll be understanding from this news article. Why is it in the news? Okay, this was there in the Hindu newspaper. So what is radiocarbon dating? Dating is a method by which the age of an object can be determined. Okay, that is simply dating. What is radiocarbon dating? It refers to a method which is using radiocarbon. So what is radiocarbon here? Radiocarbon is the name of the isotope carbon 14. Okay, carbon 14 isotope of carbon is called as radiocarbon. Okay, so how is this radiocarbon created in Earth's atmosphere? It is created in the Earth's atmosphere when cosmic rays slam into the atoms of gases and release neutrons. So what are cosmic rays here? They are energetic streams of charged particles which are coming from sources in outer space. Okay, so when these cosmic rays slam into the atoms of the gases and release neutrons, and when these neutrons interact with the nitrogen 14, which is again an isotope of nitrogen, then carbon 14 is produced. I hope this is clear. Okay, cosmic rays slam into the atoms of gases and they release neutrons. Okay, and when these neutrons interact with the nitrogen 14, which is an isotope of nitrogen, then carbon 14, which is an isotope of carbon, is released. Okay, is produced. And since these cosmic rays are ceaselessly passing through the Earth's atmosphere, carbon 14 is created constantly there. So there is abundance of carbon 14. Okay, carbon 14 is continuously getting generated or produced. Okay, what else do we have to understand? What is carbon 14? It is a radioactive isotope of carbon with with an atomic nucleus which contains 6 proton and 8 neutrons. Okay, so that is why it is carbon 14. 6 plus 8, 14. Okay, carbon 14. And its presence in the organic materials is the basis of the radiocarbon dating method, which was pioneered by Willard Libby and his colleagues in 1949 to date archaeological, geological and hydrogeological samples. Okay, so they have done this to date archaeological, geological and hydrogeological samples. And this carbon 14 readily combines with the atmospheric oxygen to form radioactive carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is how this radioactive carbon or radiocarbon is getting into the life forms. Okay, so the carbon 14 readily combines with atmospheric oxygen to form radioactive carbon dioxide, and this compound, the radioactive carbon dioxide, enters the bodies of the plants via photosynthesis. So it enters the bodies of the plants via photosynthesis, and we animals, when we consume those plants, it is getting into our cycle also. Okay, so it enters the bodies of the animals when they consume plants and other biomass through carbon cycle. So this is how everywhere carbon 14 is present. Okay, in any life form, and this is how carbon 14 is produced. When those neutrons are going to interact with nitrogen 14, then carbon 14 is produced. Okay, so how does this radiocarbon dating work? We need to understand that. So when an organic entity, say human body, is alive, then it constantly exchanges carbon with its surroundings by breathing, consuming food, defecating and shedding skin. So this is how we exchange carbon, and through these activities this carbon 14 is both lost from the body as well as replenished. So its concentration in the body is nearly constant and is in equilibrium with its surroundings. So this carbon 14's concentration in a live body is constant, or it is in equilibrium with its surrounding. Whereas when the individual dies or when the life form dies, the body no longer performs these activities. What activities? That is breathing, consuming food, defecating and shedding skin. All these activities are stopped. Okay. So the body no longer perform these activities and the concentration of the carbon 14 in the body begins to dwindle through radioactive decay. So this is why it is called as radiocarbon, because this dwindling or this reduction in the amount of carbon 14 happens through a radioactive decay. Okay, the process is radioactive decay, and the more time passes, the more the amount of carbon 14 is lost, obviously, right? Here, this carbon 14 has a half-life of about 5,730 years, which means half of the atoms in the samples will change into other atoms in 5,730 years. That is what it means, and this process is called as radioactive decay. Okay, so that is half of the atoms in the sample of any sample will change into other atoms. Okay, in 5,730 years for carbon 14. Okay. Next, we have to understand what are all the tools used for radiocarbon dating. Earlier, they were using Geiger counter, which was a tool used for radiocarbon dating. Later, an advanced version of Geiger counter, which is anti-coincidence counter, was used. And at present, what is being used? It is accelerator mass spectrometry is used. Okay. So, what is this accelerator mass spectrometry? Today, it is the most preferred tool for radiocarbon dating, and it allows for more precise dating with smaller sample sizes, and even the sample size can be as little as 50 milligram. Okay. And this AMS, that is accelerator mass spectrometry, involves accelerating the ions to extraordinary high kinetic energies, which is followed by mass analysis. That is why it is accelerator mass spectrometry here. Okay. So this AMS separates carbon isotopes with a particle accelerator. So the carbon isotopes are separated using particle accelerator, and then it is counted. Individually, the carbon 14 atoms are counted, thus making it a more accurate and efficient method for radiocarbon dating. So at present, accelerated mass spectrometry is used, and it is used for radiocarbon dating. Okay, so a question based on this can be asked. Okay, they can give you this AMS and then they can ask what is its application, where does it find its application. So such questions can be asked. Next, what is the importance of radiocarbon dating? So radiocarbon dating provided the first objective dating method, obviously. And what is that? It is the ability to attach approximate numerical dates to organic remains. That is how it is helping. We can attach an approximate numerical value to any organic remains. And for this reason, its effects on the field of archaeology and geology have come to be called as radiocarbon revolution. Okay. And then it allowed scholars a clearer and measurable view of the past, opening the doors to findings whose importance resonate to this day. And the best example here includes history of human migration. We came to know about history of human migration with the help of radiocarbon dating. Next is rise and fall of civilizations, the birth of languages and religion, evolution of human-animal interaction, and even the undulations of the Earth's climate. Even the changes in the Earth's climate was observed, was known with the help of radiocarbon dating. And this radiocarbon dating is also having a political significance in India. That is because researchers and politicians have invoked the use of radiocarbon dating to date objects which are retrieved from temples and mosques. One best example which can be given here is the recent Gyanvapi mosque issue which is going. Even there, this radiocarbon dating method was used. Okay, so this is what we need to understand about radiocarbon dating. The topic that we are going to discuss now is diabetic retinopathy. What is this diabetic retinopathy? What are all the different types or the subtypes of diabetic retinopathy? Let us understand, and we need to know why this is in news. So Carl Zeiss, a German technology firm that makes optical systems and optoelectronics, said India has been a booming market for its artificial intelligence driven medical devices. This is because India saw a spike in diabetic retinopathy cases in the recent years. So because of this only we are going to study what is diabetic retinopathy, and this artificial intelligence in medicine was a boon in the management of diseases such as diabetic retinopathy, as this technology assisted in screening the patients, enabling early detection of symptoms and even timely treatment. Okay, that is how artificial intelligence is helping medicine, the field of medicine. And the latest data from the ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, published in 2023, shows the prevalence of diabetes in India reached an alarming 10.1 crore, which is huge. Okay, so these many people in India are diabetic. So most of them are having this problem called diabetic retinopathy. So let us understand more about diabetic retinopathy. So it is also known as diabetic eye disease. It is a medical condition in which damage occurs to the retina. So from the name itself we can understand that damage is happening to the retina due to diabetes mellitus, that is diabetes. Okay, and it is leading to, it is the leading cause of blindness in developed countries. This diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of diabetes in many developed countries, and this disease affects up to 80% of those who have had both type 1 and type 2 diabetes for 20 years or more. So this is what is the condition here. Okay, so 80% of people who have both type 1 and type 2 diabetes for more than 20 years are getting affected by this diabetic retinopathy, and the longer a person has diabetes, the higher his or her chance of developing this disease. Okay, what else do we have to understand? So this is how the difference is shown here. So normal eye has healthy blood vessels, whereas here when a person is affected with diabetes and when he or she is having diabetic retinopathy, then tiny blood vessels leak fluid into the retina. Okay, there will be proliferation of tiny blood vessels and they will lead to leakage of fluid in the retina, and that is how the image is blurred or the image is lost, the vision is lost. Okay, so this is how it happens. This diabetic retinopathy is caused when persistently high blood sugar levels damage the blood vessels that serve the retina. Okay, and this normally happens in three main stages. What are all the stages? First is background retinopathy. What is background retinopathy? Here, tiny bulges develop in the blood vessels and they bleed a little but often not enough to affect your vision. So, a slight bleeding from the blood vessels happen here. That is background retinopathy. Next is pre-proliferative retinopathy, also called as non-proliferative retinopathy. What is this? The blood vessels are subjected to more severe and widespread changes that causes bleeding to become more significant here. So here the bleeding was slight, little. Here the bleeding increases. Okay, and then comes proliferative retinopathy. What is this? New blood vessels and some scar tissues are developed here. Okay, and those newly developed blood vessels and scar tissues are very weak. Okay, and then they bleed easily, and at this stage vision loss is expected. Okay, so these are all the different stages of diabetic retinopathy: background stage, non-proliferative stage, and then proliferative stage. So this is how it progresses. This is normal eye having healthy blood vessels, and this portion, this oval shaped portion is called as macula here, and this macula is the one which receives or processes the image that we see. Okay, so macula. So here hemorrhage happens. What is hemorrhage? That is leakage of blood. Okay, that happens. Next, cotton full spots. Those are the scars that we saw in the previous slide. And then macular edema will happen. What is macular edema? Macular edema is nothing but swelling. Okay, so this macula will get swelled because of retinopathy, and then even microaneurysm happens. Okay, that is swelling of the blood vessels. That is microaneurysm. And abnormal growth of blood vessels is also there. Okay, in the last stage, that is in the proliferative retinopathy, we saw that new blood vessels and scar tissues will be developing, and those blood vessels and scar tissues will be very weak. Thus, it ruptures easily and the blood is leaked. Okay, so abnormal growth of blood vessels happen in proliferative retinopathy. So this is the detail that we need to know about diabetic retinopathy. The topic that we are going to discuss now is Prithvi Vigyan scheme. So what is this Prithvi Vigyan scheme? Prithvi means earth. Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, Prithvi means earth. Vigyan is science. So this scheme has something to do with the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Okay, so this is how you could understand. So Prithvi Vigyan scheme. So Indian government has launched this Prithvi Vigyan scheme for the Ministry of Earth Sciences, and this scheme, which is to be implemented between 2021 and 2026, has its aim to study the atmosphere, ocean, weather and earth sciences. Okay, and then the objectives of this scheme include enhancing long-term observations of earth system, developing modeling system for weather prediction, exploring polar and high seas region, and then developing technology for oceanic resource harnessing. Okay, and then it encompasses 5 ongoing sub-schemes. Already we have 5 sub-schemes, and all these sub-schemes are included into this Prithvi Vigyan scheme. Okay, so those are across, OSMART, PACER, SAGE, and then Reach Out. What are these schemes? Let us understand them in detail. First, across. What is across? That is atmosphere and climate research, modeling, observing systems and services. That is across. Okay, so this scheme is there for research and development of dynamic models and providing forecast services. Okay, next is PACER. What is PACER here? That is Polar Science and Cryosphere Research. That is PACER. Here it comprises Antarctic program, Indian Arctic program, and Southern Ocean program, Cryosphere and Climate program. So these are all the programs included under PACER program or the PACER scheme, that is Polar Science and Cryosphere Research. Next comes OSMART. What is OSMART? Ocean Services Modeling Application, Resources and Technology. That is OSMART scheme. And this scheme is there for technology development of oceanic applications, services like forecast and advisories, and even R&D activities in the marine and coastal environment. Okay, and what are all the other schemes that is included in Prithvi here? It is Seismology and Geosciences, that is SAGE scheme. It encompasses 6 activities including seismological monitoring, microzonation, and setting up a facility for geochronology. And then comes the last one, Reach Out scheme, that is research, education, training and outreach. That is Reach Out scheme, and this is there for incorporating R&D in earth science systems and then developing skilled manpower in earth science systems. Okay, so this is what we need to know. And what are all the importance of this scheme and why is this scheme created? That is Prithvi scheme created, Prithvi Vigyan scheme created. This is to improve and increase long-term observations. So we need long-term observations of atmosphere, ocean, geosphere, cryosphere and solid earth to track the changes in the planet. So only when we know the planet better, then we can address the issues in the planet. So observation here is important. So long-term observation. Next is to develop models to understand and predict weather, ocean and climate hazards, and also to understand the science of climate change. Understanding the science behind the climate change is very important, okay? And making predictions will also help in avoiding the effects of the disaster or the hazards, okay? Next is to explore polar and high seas region, because polar and high sea regions are also important because they are having direct or indirect connect with Indian atmosphere, and I mean Indian climate and other things, weather and climate. So we are going to explore polar and high sea regions of the earth to discover new phenomena and resources, and to develop technology for exploration and sustainable harnessing of oceanic resources for societal application. So oceanic resources, for example, polymetallic nodules can be explored. Okay, we have one scheme or one program called Samudrayan, also called Matsya 6000. This Matsya 6000 explores deep seas. Oceanic resources are being explored. Polymetallic manganese are being explored using this Matsya 6000. That is, it will go up to the depth of 6000 meters. That is why it is called Matsya 6000, also called Samudrayan. Next, to translate knowledge and insights from Earth science system, okay, into services for societal, environmental, and economic benefits. Okay, so after we studying and getting insights about the Earth system sciences, we must have to apply it to many fields to harness benefits from it. So this is what the scheme is for, that is Prithvi Vigyan scheme. The topic that we are going to discuss now is G20 satellite. That is, sorry, GSAT-20 satellite. What is this GSAT-20 satellite? Why is it in news? And using which rocket we are going to launch this satellite? All these details we must have to understand. So, GSAT-20 satellite. India's GSAT-20 satellite, also known as CMS-3 communication satellite. That is why it is CMS-3, or else it is also called as GSAT-N2. It will be launched on SpaceX Falcon rocket, Falcon 9. Okay, so it will be launched using this SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Why are we going for this rocket? Let us understand that in the upcoming slides. Before that, we must have to understand what this satellite is and its specifications. Okay, so this GSAT-20 is a 4,700 kilogram communication satellite which was built by the ISRO, okay, Indian Research, I mean Space Research Organization, and ISRO has its commercial arm, that is NSIL, that is New Space India Limited, which is planning to launch the satellite using this Falcon 9 in the second quarter of 2024. Okay, and then this satellite will look to fulfill the India's growing broadband connectivity needs. And from here we can understand that it is a communication satellite. Okay, so it will look to fulfill India's growing broadband connectivity needs. Okay, so this NSIL, that is the commercial arm of ISRO, will fully own, operate and fund this satellite, which weighs 4,700 kilogram, and this satellite can provide up to 48 gigabytes per second GBps, okay, of capacity across 32 beams covering all of India, including Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep Islands. And then the cost-effective satellite, it is a cost-effective satellite which will play a significant role in connecting remote and underserved areas or regions of India. And this satellite will also facilitate in-flight connectivity of aeromobile services using Ka band. Okay, and then NSIL currently has 11 communication satellites in orbit. These are all the facts which we need to understand and know. Next, we have to understand the details about Falcon 9 rocket. Okay, so this Falcon 9 is a partially reusable rocket and it is a two-stage rocket. Okay, and it is the world's first orbital class reusable rocket. Very important. Okay, it is the world's first orbital class reusable rocket, and it can put up to 22,800 kilogram payload in low Earth orbit and 8,300 kilogram payload in geostationary transfer orbit. Okay, and it can deliver a 4,020 kilo payload to Mars also. Okay, it is capable of doing all this, and then it has so far carried 285 launches, 243 landings and 217 reflights. Okay, and then the rocket is powered by Merlin engines, and they use rocket grade kerosene and liquid oxygen as the rocket propellant here, and this is used in a gas generator power cycle. Okay, so this is about Falcon 9. And why is India using SpaceX launcher? Why are we going for SpaceX launcher? Don't we have our own launches? This is because this GSAT-20 is too heavy for ISRO's most powerful rocket. Okay, so ISRO's launch vehicle Mach 3, LBM-3, it can only put 4,000 kilo mass satellite in geostationary transfer orbit. Okay, and India was earlier using this Ariane rockets of Arianespace to launch its communication satellites, which are weighing 4 or over 4 tons. But now we have chosen Falcon, okay, for the first time, and a couple of private satellite players from India have already used SpaceX rockets to launch their small satellites, and they have given the comment that they are providing it for a cheaper price also. Okay, this service is being provided for a cheaper price, so that is why we have chosen Falcon 9 this time. The topic that we are going to discuss now is Zosuраbalpin. What is this Zosuраbalpin? Zosuраbalpin is a new antibiotic which was found. So, researchers have identified a new class of antibiotics with the potential to tackle drug-resistant bacterium, that is Acinetobacter baumannii. Okay, this Acinetobacter baumannii is a drug resistant bacterium. So antibiotic resistant or drug resistance is a major issue these days, and that is being addressed using this new class of bacteria, new class of antibiotic, that is Zosuраbalpin. So here this Zosuраbalpin was found to be effective against this crab induced pneumonia and sepsis. What is crab here? Not the crab animal here, but crab is Carbapenem resistant Acinetobacter baumannii. Okay, so this Zosuраbalpin is a drug candidate which was developed through an optimization of tethered macrocyclic peptides. So they have done this using optimization of tethered macrocyclic peptide which selectively kills this baumannii. Okay, that is Acinetobacter baumannii. So how is this done? How is it going to kill or eradicate this bacteria? It is done by blocking this LPS transport. So here we need to understand what is LPS. Okay, so the antibiotic's unique mode of action involves inhibiting the transport of lipopolysaccharide, that is LPS. Okay, so this transport of lipopolysaccharide is a very essential process for creating the outer membrane structure of the gram-negative bacteria. There are two types of bacteria. One is gram-positive bacteria, and the other one is gram-negative bacteria. And in this, gram-negative bacteria will be having this outer membrane structure, and that membrane structure is developed using this lipopolysaccharides, and the transport of lipopolysaccharide is being inhibited with the help of this new antibiotic. Okay, so this Zosuраbalpin blocks the LPS transport. Okay, so that is how it is going to affect, and it leads to abnormal buildup of LPS in the cell and subsequent death of the bacterium. Okay, so that is how it is going to kill the bacteria. Here we need to understand about the two bacteria types. One is gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria with respect to certain parameters. Okay. So when it comes to cell wall, it has a single layered smooth cell wall, whereas there it is double layered wavy cell wall in gram negative bacteria. Next, cell wall thickness. So the thickness of the cell wall is 20 to 80 nanometer here thick, and here the thickness is 8 to 10 nanometers. Presence of peptidoglycan. Okay, so it has a thick layer, also can be multi-layered, and it has a thin layer and often single layer, that is peptidoglycan layer. And then teichoic acid. What is this teichoic acid? It is present there in gram positive bacteria, and these are not present in gram negative bacteria. And here comes the lipopolysaccharide that we discussed. Okay, here lipopolysaccharide is not present in gram positive bacteria, whereas it is present in gram negative bacteria. So the bacteria that we discussed, that is Acinetobacter baumannii, is a gram negative bacteria. And coming to the outer membrane is not present here, whereas there the outer membrane is present, mostly present. And for the creation of, or for the development of the outer membrane, lipopolysaccharide is needed in gram negative bacteria. And then the lipid content here is very low, and the lipid content there is about 20% to 30%. And when we have to talk about the resistance to the antibiotic, then these bacteria, that is gram positive bacteria, are very susceptible to antibiotics, which means when antibiotic is taken, it gets killed. Okay, it dies, whereas these are very resistant to antibiotics. Okay, so that is why we are discussing here. It is very resistant to antibiotics, and a new antibiotic has been created to address this issue. Okay, so if we have to see that in picture, this is how it looks: gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria. So gram positive does not have lipopolysaccharide, whereas in gram negative this lipopolysaccharide is present, which helps in the formation or the development of the outer membrane, which shields the bacteria. And this is going to get affected. The transport of lipopolysaccharide is going to get affected with the help of the new antibiotic that has been created. So this is what we need to understand from this particular topic. So with this, we have come to end of today's session. I hope you found the session to be very useful and informative. Let us see in the next session. Thank you.